Welcome to conference. We are at the beautiful Wellness Center in our room that we do a lot of our coaching in and nutrition. So I thought it would be fun to do conference today here at the new center. This week's conference is continuing why Ashtanga and also springtime. So we read the beautiful Taoist passage about the caterpillar turning into butterflies and talking about what within us is beginning to awaken, to feel that transformation within us. And of course, it's springtime, and even here in Southern California where the seasons are subtle, we start to feel something shifting. We are waking up with a light. We're maybe wanting to eat a little bit different, feeling different in our bodies. And as much as there's like one day of our lives, there's this time where the light comes and we wake up and we feel a certain way. And throughout the afternoon and then at night as it starts to get dark, our melatonin kicks in and we fall asleep. Our body is designed to interact with the seasons, the daily seasons and the bigger seasons. And so springtime for all of us brings about this stirring in us to be light and to change and to maybe be passionate or creative in our endeavors. So this week we're going to look at some great quote by Pattabhi Jois. As a matter of fact, when I was in India and someone would ask Guruji a question, I felt like he always answered it kind of the same. He would say, practice, practice, practice. Or he might say, practice and all is coming. Or he would say, 99% practice, 1% theory. And I always felt like it was always incredibly appropriate. Whatever people were asking me, it came back to like, you just have to take your practice. You just have to do it again and again and again and again. And it's like we've been talking about those neural pathways. Like we have to do it in cellular memory and in our minds to create a pathway that, like driving home, you don't even think about it. You just drive a certain way in your home. That's the beauty of Ashtanga. It's the beauty of the repetition. But this time of the year, I asked you to do something different. We did chaturangas a little bit different, and students were telling me how they felt different doing it that way. And so in our practice, what I was doing is combining two different ways that we can shift and we can transform and we can move into our springtime, our lighter self. And so I changed one of Guruji's quotes by adding something to it. I added a fourth P to practice, 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 possibility. Practice, 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 possibility. So what we've learned from Ashtanga is that when we memorize the sequence, the breath and the movement, that's where the magic happens for us, the moving meditation. And we create these pathways to our health. And if Guruji were here and he was to say, practice and all is coming, I would ask all of you, well, what is coming? What is he promising us if we do our practice, practice, practice? And I got a lot of great answers on Sundays, but obviously we're going to get stronger and we're going to get more flexible and we're going to clean our lymphatic system and we're going to have more energy for our days. It's like filling our energy tank. And it'll be a light on our spiritual path. We're going to reflect more inward and be able to know what's going on within us. And so I ask all of you and our extended family through the YouTube channel, like when you hear that particular quote, practice and all is coming, what has come to you over the years? What has shifted because of the repetition of this beautiful system and the way it's designed? I believe we learn and move into possibility and change and transform in two different ways. And one is through repetition, through learning something and becoming an expert in it and doing it over and over and over again. But the second way that we learn and transform is through some shift happening. And that's why I had you do the chaturangas. It was one reason I had you do the chaturangas is because oftentimes we get set in a pattern, and although that's beautiful in some ways, it can also be detrimental to our growth as well. And so we need to change it up and do it different. So often if you get injured or someone in my classes get injured, I love to help them work through just changing around it. Rather than not practicing, we can just practice differently. And often I think all of us can remember a time when we were injured or had a surgery or had something in our life happen where we couldn't practice the same method, the same way. It shifted the way we practiced and it had a gift for us. It maybe helped us focus on some other area of our practice, our breath or our bandhas, or we shifted into something that helped us move a little bit differently. And oftentimes there's unexpected gifts that come from that. So I had a student today, and she was in Mysore, and we have been working on Pincha Mayurasana, Crown-Davasana for years and years. Super flexible, but doesn't have the strongest core. And we've been doing it, again, cellular memory, muscle memory, over and over. And I would always at the end, after she tried it, say, good job, we tried it again. And that's the repetition, right? And so for years and years, I've been lately saying to her, I want you to go into lotus. And then when you're finished, I want you to come out of lotus and hold your legs straight again and pinch Mayurasana. And today was the first day she did it. And of course, we celebrated. We're like, yay, you did it, how wonderful. And when she got down, she looked at me and she goes, I think I could do this because you had me change the way I did chaturangas for a month. And it strengthened my core. And so her being willing to be open to the possibility of, sometimes that is a magic. You just do it over and over and over and over again. Then one day you can do it. But sometimes the magic comes because you're willing to shift something, maybe expected or unexpected. And I think it's a beautiful metaphor for life. And again, especially because it's springtime, to see within all of us, like, where are we able to shift? Where are we able to create hope and possibility in our lives? And for me, this last few weeks, I've been really thinking about the little moments of my life, something just the simplest things where I might normally go, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to LA. I can't stand the drive there and, blah, all the things. And instead, I just shift this one little thought in my mind. I create this space and I create the shift just like, well, what if it's not bad traffic today? What if I actually enjoy listening to music and it winds up being cathartic, And just me shifting my mind and in the smallest way into hope oftentimes can be that thing that opens up and brings something new into our life and causes that transformation. So last week, I gave you the teaching, very simple 2 words, what if? What if we just start thinking in the smallest ways on the side of hope rather than worry and criticism and all the other things that are available to us as well. But what if we think the better? What if we think hopeful? So this week's lesson, I say to all of you, again, this is phase 2 of what if. What is possible? Practice, 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 possibility. How can you bring this idea of cellular memory and mind memory into your life? And where can you invite yourself to shift? Go a different way home. Respond in a different way to something that someone says to you. You normally go down the same path. And see what opening and what magic comes from that. So my quote is from Elizabeth Gilbert, from one of my favorite books, Big Magic. And she said this, and this is part of a sort of a bigger teaching of a chapter on how we have these cool things hidden within us. She said, I guarantee you this, a creative life is an amplified life. It's a bigger life. It's a happier life, an expanded life, and a hell of a lot more interesting living in this manner, continually and stubbornly bringing forth the jewels that are hidden within you. So go out there and open yourself up to possibility. Practice, 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 possibility.